I was born in Camden, South Carolina, and my mother and father were married there, and I was born in 1926, in March of 1926. I went to Jackson School, Jackson Grammar School, my first 6 years. The last 6 years I went to Mather Academy, which was a private school across the street. And this school was a little bit different from the other school back in those days, which was totally segregated. This had an integrated faculty, and these people came from all over the country, and they were just as interested in us, the black kids, as the black instructors, the black teachers. And for example, whenever the men went to town, or the boys would go to town, they could sign out and just take off and head to town. But if the young women needed to do some shopping, they would be escorted by one of the teachers, roughly about 10 of them at a time. So consequently, you had some of the white teachers escorting black children. Well, in Camden, South Carolina, back in the 40s, they probably weren't looked upon too kindly by the folks who lived there, the whites. And they made some tremendous sacrifices for us, and for many years afterwards, there were reunions held, even as far north as Washington, D.C., where the principal of the school was honored, Miss Bryan. She was a person who knew where every one of the graduates were, whether they were a soldier or whether a doctor, a lawyer. She knew just how many they were, where they were. If I wanted to get an address from an old friend, contact Miss Bryan, and she kept track of all of us. So throughout the years, we thought very well of this lady and the other teachers there, because we received a fine, very fine education. And it was a school that was a Christian school. And it Methodist. We had Bible classes at the school. We had devotions early morning. We had training in the educational training in the evening sometimes, and it was just a tremendous place to go to school, just as much as night and day between the segregated school and the school that we went to.
Was this an unusual model that seems a little different or uncharacteristic for the school?
Yes, we had students that come from all over the country, and particularly, see, it was a day school, but it also was a boarding school, and they would come from all over the country, various places, which gave us some very good, fine athletes from other places, and we got to know a lot about other places by talking to the other kids from different states, and not just the ones that are right around in the South Carolina area. So we enjoyed that very much, and it was a very fine school. Congressman Clyburn graduated from that school, and this was about 10 years later after I did, so I didn't get to meet him then. But it was some very fine people in that school, and I enjoyed my time there. After I left school, I was drafted to go into World War II, to go in the Army. And initially, they wanted me to leave school. My birthday was in March, and they wanted me to join the Army then. And I contacted the draft board, we discussed it, and finally they decided to give me a little relief and get me sometime later on. So it wasn't until October that I was drafted. And this was in Massachusetts, where my mother was living. She had gone north to work. And so I went into the Army at Fort Banks, Massachusetts. And this was an eye-opener, going into the Army at that particular time, because when we got ready, we arrived there, held up our hands, and became a member of the service. Then we went in to have a lunch, and I was shocked because behind the counter there were German prisoners of war, and they were waiting on us there. And these people were, I was sort of shocked because I'd never fired a weapon in my life, handled a weapon. And here are people who had been in combat against our country. So it sort of shocked me initially seeing this, because I was kind of totally unprepared. And I thought about, what do they think about me? Here a black kid here in the Army, soon to be going over to their country to fight. And it was just one of those things that kind of shocked me initially when I first joined the service.